Welcome, everybody. Welcome to day 6 of our 7 days of rest. So lovely to see so many same faces and some new faces just joining today. Karina, lovely to see you again, and Francois and Louise. Talia, it's nice to see you again. Gail and Carol and Gabriella. Jacob, I think Jacob, this might be your first day today. Nice to see you. Yeah, Bridget and Denise. Lovely. Cheryl, nice to see you again, Cheryl and Marcine, Stephanie, Rodney, and John. Nice to have you back again today. No headphones today, John. Beautiful. Well, here we are, day 6 of our 7 days. I'm going to keep admitting people just for a minute before we get started. And if you want to put your name in the chat where you're, joining in from, please do that. It's always nice to see where we're from all around the world as we get to know each other. Right. So over the last 6 days, you've been learning about the connection field, and you've been learning about what the connection field is. And we've been learning that it's a social network and a play space for people that are interested in exploring heart-centered living and coherence. That's really our compass and our practice and our mission. And you've been learning that it's also, we considered an evolutionary learning community, because we're not just here to connect and find friends, but we're here to actually become an island of coherence, to actually embody a deeper level of heart-centered connection. And one thing I haven't mentioned that the connection field is, it's a coherence collaboratory. We've actually written or began a living operating manual for effective collaboration based in coherence. And we're going to be offering a lot more around collaboration, because as we start to connect in with our deeper essence, the imaginal soul that we are, we begin to find a connection to our deeper purpose. Like, what is our unique part? And as we do that, we want to learn to collaborate in a whole new way to create more than we could just on our own. And we've also been, I hope, experiencing that the connection field is also this loving space that we generate together, even in this virtual field. It's potent, it's powerful, and it has an impact on the quality of our life. And I hope you're beginning to feel that in the moments where you're feeling off center, or you're not sure you can choose love in a moment of something challenging, you can tune into this community. You can just take one moment to connect into a feeling that you had being on one of these calls or connecting in with someone, and you can call on this field to support you any moment that you need. And hopefully in the moments that you're feeling full, you're sending more love and more coherence and more compassion into the field. So we're building it together. So January, all this week, we've been saying the theme for January is choosing love, setting the foundation for a heart-centered life. And that our overall theme for 2025 is cultivating coherence personally and collectively. And that is in order to be aligned with our mission of becoming an island of coherence and helping love go viral. So in some ways, we need to understand what becoming an island of coherence means. And that exploration really starts from the inside out. And that's what we'll be attending to in the connection field. So we had the 7 days of rest, and we started day 1. And Michelle helped us to understand that we had access to the breath of love, and we could use that to support ourselves in clearing our fields. And then we learned about the 5 breaths of love and how we could use that breath of love to feed out into our environment and into the field around us, into our communities. And you'll see when more and more you start to do that, the more and more a field of love begins to surround you, and things become easier to move through. And then Kati J brought us into the inquiry of acceptance. because whatever is right now is. And so instead of fighting it, how can I accept what is? And how can I make a new commitment today of how I want to respond to whatever is? And then Tammy brought us into the journey of presence, and through a reflection of her inquiry with AI, but also in our inquiry of how we show up in a place of presence with whatever is emerging as part of this unified field that we share, and how we want to approach that really is the gift that we have to offer. And then yesterday, we dove into the story of the transformation of the caterpillar to the butterfly, from the soup we're swimming in to putting our attention on the imaginal soul that we're becoming. And today we're moving into self-inquiry with some new friends that maybe you haven't met for a while. Ammali Grace, who's going to be bringing in some of her insights from self-inquiry systems into the connection field. And we're going to get a little taste of that today. And many of you, if you've been on a Global Coherence Pulse anytime in the last year, you probably met Theo Grace, who's been really serving as one of our house musicians, we're calling him, is going to be taking us into our journey today. So here we are, day 6, and we've been on quite a journey, and we can feel it in the field. I know yesterday and the day before, like this sense of feeling really touched by being together, a sense that the field is being amplified and more is available to us as we drop in together. So I'm going to start by inviting Theo to open up our session today, help us center with music. That's always such a beautiful way to do that. And so Theo, I'm looking for your camera. I lost you somehow. There we go. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Theo for everyone. Thank you, Theo, for coming today and for bringing your love every time to this community. We really appreciate you, and we really feel uplifted by your presence when you're with us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always such a good community to come together, and this is really where I get a lot of my practice, actually. Just all those good reminders of breathing into the heart and being present together, and just building that coherence. So I'm just gonna dive right into a song that's just about that, about dropping into that witness space, checking out your experience and seeing what's here. I am not the clouds, I am the sky. I am not the mind, I am the I. Hearing a sacred song of a universe alive. Can't hold on to anything passing away. I am here experiencing living today. High highs, low lows, and me in the middle, watching it go. Here comes a fear, oh no, watch it go. Feelings and thoughts, I watch them go. See it all and watch it go. Oh, yeah. I am not the memories, I am the one, circling for centuries around the sun, burning up everything, all that needs to be released, expanding beyond the edges of my mind. Stories, seasons, reasons, and rhymes open me up to find it's always been me in the middle, watching it go. comes a fear, oh no, watch it go. Feelings and thoughts, I watch them go. See it all and watch it go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the secret is to see it, to feel it, and receive it. Oh, the secret is to see it, to feel it, and receive it. Yeah, the secret is to see it, oh, to feel it, and receive it. Yeah, the secret is to see it, to feel it, and release it. 'Cause underneath this fear inside is the sweetness of life. Oh, oh, underneath this pain I hide is the sweetness of life. Oh, 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 the sweetness of life.
Beautiful, Theo. Love that we got a little bit of a groove going in our center. Like sometimes instead of just like getting really quiet and centered, sometimes it's nice to get kind of bouncy and centered. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, sometimes I keep that song chill, but the second verse came and it was like, ooh, time to dance just a little.
That felt good. I think we all loved how that felt.
Yeah. I
You
hope
know,
everyone feels more present and in the space, and I'll hand it back to you and thank you.
yeah, your voice sounded like super clear today. Like
Mm.
I've heard you a ton of times, and I don't think it was like your sound today or something. I think your
Mm.
voice,
Mm.
a a tone to it that felt kind of like a little bit of a breakthrough. So I just
Mm.
say that because I know you really well, and sometimes it's good to not let those moments go by when
Oh,
maybe something's coming through. So thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
You might notice that Theo Grace and Ammali Grace have the same last name. I'm going to bring you on the spotlight, you, Ammali, because I wouldn't bring you on. And I'll bring myself in so you're not just hanging there by yourself for a minute. Add me to the spotlight. So Theo and Amma and I met when I was doing work with the Gene Keys, when I helped to launch a learning community for the Gene Keys many years ago. And they became instant family for me. They like family of my heart. And I think, is Amelie frozen or am I frozen? I'm here.
Yeah.
Is it
Oh,
me?
there you are.
You're back now. Yeah.
Wow, I'm like plugged into my router, but today is not my day to talk. So I'll be brief. So Amelie and Theo became family for me and colleagues and so many things. And we've really like learned and grown together through our explorations. And I'm really excited to be bringing Amelie and Theo into the connection field more and bring some of the wisdom that they've been generating from, look at the age group, right? Let's bring in some young people like Tatiana and Amelie who have been kind of in these deeper levels of working through what we need to work through in order to show up and be awake. So we're going to learn more about Amelie, and I'm going to post a link to her profile so that you can read about her. But Amma, I just want to just bring you in to learn about you through the quality of your presence. And I'm really excited that we're going into deeper inquiry today with you. So bless you. I love you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, I'm not surprised, and yet I am just utterly delighted to come into this space that you've cultivated, Teresa, along with other people around you, and just to meet the energy of the space. And I know many of you have been meeting over the last many days. Many of you have been in the connection field for a longer period of time. But it's just such a delight to feel this sense of connection and presence. All of those layers, the breath of love, acceptance, like all of those things feel so tangible in this space. And so today we're going to just take it even further. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be here. Um, and I feel like just starting out with choosing love, I was so like, yes, that is exactly, I love it when the synchronicity of life lines up because that was really what I was carrying forward for myself in the across the solstice and into the new year. That's what rose out of me was this. I feel at this moment in my life that I need to be guided, like guiding my life on the basis of what truly matters and sort of, what is the foundation of existence itself? And may that be what drives my choice making. I've worked for a long period of time to align my behavior, align my life to principles that I see as a part of the living web of life. But to go even deeper and say that the basis of life itself is love, may I move from that place? That feels like the most important thing I could do to contribute to this world right now is to allow myself to be guided by, to move from, and to make choices from that place. And so self inquiry, which is a practice that I'm going to be introducing in through the way that I've been applying it, is just the perfect pairing to a question like that because it's a journey. We don't just like we have all these ideals, we have all these things that we conceptually know that our North Star, our directionality, these are the ideals. But how do we live them? How do we honestly meet ourselves where we're at and do the work to cultivate the capacities and expand our capacities in these areas? So recently I came across a talk by a friend, Forrest Landry, and he was talking about how the future of our humanity is ultimately going to rest on the skillfulness with which we make choices. So choosing love feels so aligned to that. And something else he said in that talk is that community is the matrix within which the wisdom necessary for the choices we need to make, given everything we're facing, actually arises. So the connection field is this perfect, I love how you call it an evolutionary learning community. When we learn something, we transform our beings. So we are inside of this imaginal souls, like Julie's bringing through. We are transforming through our learning. And we are cultivating wisdom together. And that's what I feel like I'm so excited to bring self inquiry systems into the connection field because ultimately it's going to support those who engage this community to generate and cultivate wisdom. And knowing that that's what is necessary for us to really align to these deeper, more wise choices, choices that are grounded in the foundation of love. So let's open up into self-inquiry. And one thing I want to mention is that self-inquiry to me is a practice that takes the notion of something like choosing love and it like puts it into this internal process by which I can then genuinely and effectively grow my capacity and expand my understanding and embody a greater ability to actually choose love. And so, what we're going to be doing is month by month, taking the subject matter, taking the theme of the month, and moving it through a system. And I'm going to share my screen and show you the kind of the structure just to give you a sense of what we're talking about. And then we'll get into an exercise. About 3 years ago, my self-inquiry process met this kind of, hey, I'm noticing that as I'm journaling, like in coming to all these insights about my experience, there's some way in which I lose touch with my learning thread, or it's not like structured enough. And like all the pages of my journal, all the wisdom threads, like could easily kind of like get lost, and I would lose track of that thing that I was so important to me, like 14 days ago, is now somehow not in my awareness. And so I just received this system, and it was built on something. I'm an astrologer, so I think a lot in cycles, and it was based on the lunar cycle. So this is an example of what I call the sine wave calendar, and this is for a cycle that I mapped out for 2022, but it gives you the sense of it's a lunar cycle that moves from the new moon to the first quarter moon all the way to the full moon of that same cycle, and then around to the last quarter and the next new moon. So it's like it's this month. And so what I started to do was I started to map my personal process onto it. I would say, oh, this is what happened on that day. And oh my gosh, this is when Venus and Mars are conjunct. And I had that dream. And, I just started to track my process on there. And then I eventually, you'll see in this one, it's like it got a lot more in depth. So this is a month where it's, a lot of detail has gone into this. Over 3 years consecutively, I've done 43 of these mapping processes. And I started to kind of come up with this system. It just kind of emerged from me placing myself onto this cycle. And so what is occurring in this in the self-inquiry system, it always begins with making an inquiry. It's in the name, so it's a very important part of the cycle. And today we're going to actually do a journaling exercise where each of you are going to hone in on a couple really key inquiries for yourself. And just to name, inquiry is an invitation that we're making to life. So we have this ability to sort of request for a flow of energy and information to come back to ourselves. And, but depending on how we frame that inquiry, we can be receiving the experiences, the insights, the qualities of experience that we need in order to grow and learn in the direction we're most interested in. So in essence, inquiry aligns our attention to what is most alive and meaningful in the moment. And then from there, we then go into our experience and we draw out the wisdom that's embedded in our experiences. This is such a juicy part of the process. If inquiry is the request for a flow of information to come our way, then experience is the actual flow of information. And what I've learned is that the degree to which we accept the moment as it is, so this is the presence principle, this is the acceptance principle, the degree to which I can just be in such immediate and direct relationship with the moment is sort of the degree to which I can derive wisdom from it. And so there's all of this embedded wisdom inside of our experiences, and part of the process moves us through this practice of reflecting on our experiences and seeing what we're learning based on what's happening in our lives to the inquiries that we have. And so we have insights, and those insights shape us, they transform us as we're learning, and then they shape new inquiries and new experiences to follow. And ultimately, what this whole process does is it circles us back to a deeper and more aligned choice making. So then we can meet the moment with a whole nother degree of um, conscious choice of what we are enacting in our lives. So, we are going to do a journaling exercise now, and I invite everyone to grab your journal, whether it's on your computer or it's a actual journal, pen and paper. So just get that out, and um, we're going to be setting an inquiry. And so by setting an inquiry around choosing love, we will be effectively creating a container for exploration and growth to occur over this next month. So this is a fun moment that we can sort of set the course. And what we choose, the inquiry we choose really matters. And so I always want to encourage people to choose something that's like it tugs at your gut. It's something that really compels you. And I'm going to be walking through you through a process, but I just wanted to name, if it's something that's like really has your attention, then the whole cycle of growth and learning is going to be even more rich for you. Um, and I think lastly, before I open the prompt, I want to say that this is a really uh like this process requires self-honesty. And where we're going to start is meeting ourselves exactly where we are and being able to honestly look at our relationship to choosing love. So the first prompt that I want you to journal on is generally, where am I at with my capacity to choose love? And so take a moment and really feel into this capacity. You might align to the concept. You might even identify as being someone who consistently chooses love. But I want you to really honestly consider in this moment your actions around this capacity. And if you were to, let's say, look at your life right now, how does choosing love fit into the picture? Is it something you're struggling with? Is it something that you're really actively learning? So we're just going to take one moment and start out here. This is a general opening, and I'll post this question into the chat, and then we'll get into a little bit more fine detail. So where am I at with my capacity to choose love?
I asked Theo to play a little background music while we're journaling. That's always nice. It kind of helps. So you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he is handling
And yes,
we're dog sitting. So I think I heard him
Yeah.
there. We're gonna keep getting a little more nuanced with this. So I'm gonna add in a layer here, and you can, yeah. I'm gonna add in a layer here. Can everybody still hear my voice? I want to make sure that the music is a good volume.
And
Okay,
turn it
that's
down
great.
just a little bit for you. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Great.
So, in this next layer, I'm just going to invite you to actually consider an experience that you had recently where you were able to choose love. So write down a moment, and it could be something so tiny. It could be really a big moment. But consider an experience recently and just write it down. What happened? How was it that you were able to choose love? What did you do? I'm going to give a little example. I had a micro moment where a friend shared something so interesting, but it was of a personal nature. And instead of like jumping in and offering what I knew about the subject, I just decided to empathize with him. And I realized that was me choosing love. I didn't need to share my information. I wanted to just let him know he was really heard. That's like a little micro moment of choosing love. And then you can add in, what was one thing that you can see that contributed to you being able to choose love in that moment? And I can say in that moment, it was my care for him. Yeah, totally. And then we're going to do the same thing for an experience where you were not able to choose love. So actually just do the same thing in the inverse. Think to a moment recently, or maybe not so recently, but just a memory of when you really weren't able to choose love. And I think the more recent, the better. Yeah, this is such good input there. And when you think about that moment where you weren't able to choose love, what was something that contributed to you not being able to do that? And Scott's saying here that it was the need to be heard that and understood that overtakes. That's such a great like underlying contribution to why. There's always something going on. Just notice and see if you can just see any patterns. See, is this situation or circumstances something you generally struggle with, choosing love? Is there certain people where it's just harder? Certain circumstances? Yeah, I really like seeing some of the inputs in the chat. So yeah, please feel free to just write some of the stuff you're arriving at in the chat. Yeah, being tired, totally. I feel that. Yeah, sometimes choosing love is not saying or doing something. Yeah. So this is all foundational information that's going to guide our inquiry, because one of the roles of inquiry is it's an aspirational force that we can direct exactly towards where we are developing. And so, given what you have observed here and the experiences that you saw yourself in recently, where do you feel most drawn to focus your growth in choosing love this month? So, what aspects of choosing love feel most alive or important for you to be developing? I'm going to pop these into the chat. And this is us like actually honing in on our monthly inquiry that we're going to be sitting with. So these are the general questions there. But I'm going to add some additional layers because these questions I find to really be very helpful in honing it in. So consider, where are you being invited to stretch or evolve in this capacity? What particular quality or skill would most support you? And what specific area of your life feels like the next step for this practice? So, what we're doing right now is we're forming an inquiry by sort of answering these questions. And it's going to be something that you want to be on a month-long journey with. Sometimes I frame it as like, I'm on a 4-week learning journey of choosing love. Okay, here's my focus. This is where I'm drawn. Take some time to journal on that. Mhm. Yeah. See, it's great. Yeah, Jeannie, I'm like adding in something so specific. Like there's a specific domain that I want to lean into knowing how to interact better. So just going back to those questions, where are you most drawn to focus your growth this month? What aspects of choosing love feel most alive or important for you to be developing right now, given your relationship to this particular capacity? And you can always circle back if you haven't quite completed, but I'm going to add in another layer here, which is now that you have identified some kind of focus, there may be some deeper understanding or knowledge that could support you in growing that. So I want to just name a distinction here. Throughout my research in this particular area, I've noticed that there's aspirational inquiries that are really honing in on how can I develop this? But then there's also like informational inquiries that are about a deepening of understanding. It's oriented towards deepening knowledge. And I think it's important not to miss that because there might be some information that you need to know. Like, what do I need to better understand? Like, what are the physics of love? If I was to go on a research study of the metaphysics of love and how it operates in the nervous system, like that might equip me so much better to understand the moment of, you know, compulsive reactivity or something like that. That's just an example. So, what do you feel like would be, and this is an opportunity to kind of add a layer into your month's inquiry that has a bit more of a level of information to it. Give a couple more examples here, a couple things that you might hone in on. You know, and just thinking about in answering the prior question, in relation to that particular focus that you named, what would be important for you to know? Spending a couple more moments considering this. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, these questions that Julie's just put in the chat, super deep. How do we love separation into unity? And like, that's not just a thought experiment. The point of this practice of self-inquiry is to literally just take that. I deeply want to know how to love separation into unity. I am personally invested. I am compelled to know the answer. And when I put that at the top of my month and seed it into that new moon frequency of I'm setting the course. I'm setting the signature of this month with this particular focus. The next step is to let go and just watch what arises into our space. So I'm just gonna give you 30 more seconds to just finish whatever thought that you are writing. What we've just done is arrived at some focus for the month, both from the aspiration, how we want to develop our capacity, and then some deeper areas of investigation. What do I need to know in order to be equipped to take on that aspirational endeavor? And we're gonna complete with this particular round of the journal exercise. And I'm okay if the music wants to stay. We're just in a contemplative space. I have a couple things I want to share that can move us toward the next steps of where this takes us. So putting down your pen, coming back to the call, back to the screen. And one thing I want to acknowledge is that, when we have an aspiration to, let's say, choose love more effectively, we, like I said, when we set that inquiry and then let it go, something I've noticed in my life is that life will give me opportunities to be in contact with really where my growth edge is. It like brings me right to the growth edge and asks me to integrate. So I think some principles are really of engaging this process of gentleness, compassion, being super just slow with yourself. Recognize that the learning journey often takes us to the inverse of the thing that we are wanting. And so to have tools and skills like the breath of love and these taking pauses and really taking time, I think it's very important to add these layers in. Because the mystery of this process is that once we set an inquiry, now you're going to go out into your life. And what I want to encourage in this process and why I've created a whole system around it is to really stay with this inquiry. And I'll show you looks like I might have to stop the sound to show this image. So this is a template of a journal template where you would set your inquiry here and then go through your experiences. I'm giving example dates and mark down very important things that happen. There's not a lot of space on this, so it would be something like the title of a journal entry that you made that was a whole page of processing. Oh my gosh, such and such happened. This was so significant, or this was kind of significant. Doesn't really matter. It ends up that there's meaning woven through the fabric of every moment of our lives. There's a deeper meaning at play. And so the next step of this is to really bring this into your journaling. Um, and I recommend just take note of significant experiences, even if you don't see the connection. But then we're going to be engaging, and I'm going to step into the connection field and be prompting different sessions where we're going to reflect on our experiences and say, how does this experience relate to my inquiry? Oh my gosh, there's just so much insight that can start to open up. And we want to track those insights. So in this journal template, we can then track our insights that are coming through. We can track our inquiries, because what I notice is that once I have an insight, it leads to a new inquiry. Well, then if this is true, then what does this mean? And it just keeps going and could very well be one of this kind of what it means to be alive on a learning journey and evolving ourselves along the way. So there's just a couple pieces and then we'll transition and I'll pass it back to Teresa. I want to inspire you to go back into your life and yeah, be inspired by your experience, no matter what it is. Because our experience is where the raw material from which wisdom arises. That's where we find it. And in setting an inquiry, we are drawing forth the wisdom, the knowledge, and information that we're most keen to contact, and it arrives into our immediate experience. So I implore you to make that, come into presence, keep practicing acceptance, because it's in this that life gets to perform its magic of teaching us through every instance. It really is the teacher, and it's the song of life where the richness of emotion and story and sensation and all the goodness, interaction, it arises. And then through this process, by paying attention to it, by listening, by attuning, going a little deeper past the surface, reflecting, coming to see something anew, bringing new awareness into our system through this contemplative practice. Insight being the capacity to see. And it's through that seeing that then we transform our raw experiences into deeper wisdom. This is us becoming a community of practice that's generating the wisdom needed to make better choices on this planet. And so ultimately, we integrate these insights into the next round of experience and are able to make more aligned choices more regularly. So ultimately, that's the goal, is to align ourselves more with the implicit nature of reality and really live from a deeper basis of being. And the ground of beingness itself starts to move through our lives when we align to these cycles and align to these deeper truths. So I'm going to pass it back to Teresa and allow her to weave. And I'm just so grateful to get to have the opportunity to give you a sneak peek. And these are things that we're going to be implementing into the connection field over the course of the next year, which is very exciting for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Ammali. I think I'm going to have Theo just play a little music so that we can just kind of stay in some of that inquiry, just to kind of bring it through. And then I would love for us to share some insights that came from it. And one thing I'll just say around the power of inquiry, and really, if we're going to transform our lives, if we're going to awaken our hearts and transform our lives and inspire the world, we do have to start from exactly where we are. And I think oftentimes we head into learning communities like this and it all feels really good and it's all about choosing love. But underneath, we're struggling and we've got some things going on and we're feeling challenged by it. And sometimes that can make us feel a little bit disconnected from a community that could really serve us. And so we're not going to gloss over that here in the connection field. This is really about here we are, right where we are in a really challenging and potentiated moment on the planet. And we don't know how to get from here to there. We don't have guides that are going to say, this is how you do it. Everybody line up. Let's do it this way. We're going to learn by what Ammali was saying, the power of our collective inquiry as a community and our own attention to our own inquiry, not trying to be like anybody else, but there's something unique about you right now here in this field, and what you're going through and how you're going through it is feeding the field. And we're all being uplifted, we're all being informed, we're all being challenged, and we're all gaining insights from that collective experience. And so, like with Stephanie, I think, like, this isn't the way that she would do it. That's okay, right? It's okay that more of asking questions of my mind isn't my part of the journey. And you might do better with diving into the 5 breaths of love with with grace, right? Or you might feel like I really need some somatic work. Like I have to go into my body first, because if I try to do this through my brain, I'm not going to get to the place that's kind of holding me back. And so maybe Tatiana and her somatic women's circle might be the place for you. Whatever you feel attracted to that's supporting you, there's lots being offered there. And the one thing that's required of you is that you show up real, exactly where you are, no apologies for being other than exactly where you are. And then you bring that into the field and you honestly and compassionately see what it takes to choose love in your life. And hopefully this field helps you do that more consistently every day. So thank you, Ammali, for sharing a system that for some of us is going to be really helpful, right? It's going to be really helpful for us to start asking questions of the imaginal soul that we are and not be self-reflecting out based on something out in the world. We're going to need to do this deeper inquiry so we can get at some of those answers. And so that we're not distracted by trying to change our life like this, but maybe it's this month, I'm going to do this one thing. And when I'm successful at doing this one thing, then I'm going to be able to take the next step forward. And that's what self-inquiry really helps us with. It helps us to get really focused on taking steps so we can have small wins that create big waves. That's how it works. So anyway, Theo, I would love for you.
Actually, can I just say just one thing that really sparked for me, is there's certain like the contemplative state is actually not a very heady state. It's quite dropped into the body, and in fact, you're not going to really see much if you're just coming from your head. So I really, really love, like, any way you have access to a contemplative state is just golden. And just to say, for my experience, one of the reasons why tracking has been important for me, which I get is not for everybody. Like Theo doesn't do my system. Um, for me, the reason why tracking is so important is, otherwise, I like, if I'm at the dance, and I go to like ecstatic dance next week, and something strikes me on the dance floor that I'm like, oh my God, this beautiful insight, this piece of wisdom. I particularly love to be able to weave that in to that thing that I learned the week prior that, oh my gosh, connected to a couple of years ago when I went through that whole thing. There's a continuity of learning that just builds on itself and it becomes more robust in its embodied capacity to integrate it into my experience. So I hope that giving that word sort of helps people understand, like, why the hell would I come in here and write down so much stuff or track? And ultimately, it's not to convince anyone to be anywhere other than what is just right here and true for them. So, thanks for giving me the opportunity to layer that in and take
It's
it away,
fun.
Theo.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Contemplation, inquiry. We got to do it. We're going to do it in our ways. So, Thea, let's play a little music just so we can be with it. And if you're feeling like you're called to share something that you got in that insights, just let it drop in so that you can kind of see what it is that I really want to share. That would be like me placing my insights in the field. So, Theo.
Wash in the well, break every spell, enter the flame, the one without a name, into the heart, grow a fire from a spark, and stay with me through the turning, through the burning. We are rising from the ashes, bringing light to the darkness. Return to the garden, rising from the ashes, finding life in the mess, and remember in death we are home. Breathe it in, sweet redemption, and make a way through all illusion, and free your light, illuminate the night, and nothing can stop what's coming. Ooh, 'cause we are rising from the ashes, bringing light to the darkness. Return to the garden, rising from the ashes, finding life in the mess, and remember in death we are home. Bless your rising.
Is that a new song, Theo?
Yes, that's a new song. I've been cooking that one for a while. I just actually posted on my Patreon. I forgot to hit enter. But there's the lyrics in a little Patreon post with, a little something that I've been working on. It's that song, different version. I got to work on an acoustic version, but it's nice to get to share it with some beautiful hearts. And people, I'm sure, who understand the journey of dying and rising and dying and rising. It's like this. I feel like I've been doing a lot of that lately. So, yeah.
Thank you, Theo. Yeah, and we feature Theo a lot on our Global Coherence Pulses, and he'll be in a lot. In fact, March, instead of just our featured musician, Theo is going to be our guest, our thought leader in March.
Mm.
And there's so much wisdom that he gets to bring to us. And so we're excited about that, Theo. Yeah.
Mm. I'm
And
gonna we I think my idea is to like weave spirituality and music and just the deep mystical mathemagical kind of reality of music and spirituality. If you've heard of Hazrat Inayat Khan, he wrote a beautiful book called The Music of Life. Deeply contemplative, you know. That's where my inquiry and contemplation goes pretty naturally. It's a deep mystery there, so we'll explore that.
And Ammali, thank you. I'm so excited for you to bring self-inquiry systems into the field, and the prompts that she'll put into the field. If you feel called to them, they're going to really help us every month to take the themes deeper. So it's not just like, oh, this month's theme is, but that there's actually some impact behind it. Before I open up for some people to share about what insights they might have got, and when you add them into the field, they really do, then it might be exactly what somebody needed to hear, right? It might be like, oh my gosh, that is the one thing I really needed. So it's nice that we do that. I wanted to go to Julie because she has an event that's happening in a couple of days. And I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to hear about it and not miss it. Julie, I'm just sharing my screen so that you can say something about it before we head off.
Thank you, Teresa. This event is going to be an experience, just a beautiful, sacred experience. We are going to invite in some soul moving music with Gary and Tatiana. We're going to have a blessing, a shamanic little journeying and blessing, opening and closing with Oscar Miro Casada. And Jude and I are going to muse into the unitive age and this deep transformation that's happening on the planet. And of course, our beautiful Teresa is going to help us to build a field of coherence and hold this space and tell us more about the connection field as well. And so, yeah, if you can join us, there'll be an invite inside the connection field. You'll be getting emails and just continuing on this beautiful, rich, yummy experience that we've all been having, this really deep, soulful experience this week. It's kind of going to be like the cherry on top of the whipped cream that's on top of the ice cream that's on top of the big piece of chocolate cake that we've all been eating this week. So let's all put the cherry on top and really just feel really a celebratory portal of stepping through for 2025 now and really being that love in motion that we're talking about, literally grounding this expanded consciousness of love in motion that we be. So thanks for the opportunity, Teresa.
Yeah, and we also have the Awakened World. Scott's on with us again today, and really taking this theme again into the Awakening World Show. And Scott can put a link in the chat for that. And Manoj, who was going to be with us today, we'll see him in the evening, and Roland McCready from Heart Math. And so we'll just keep the conversation going. So if you're feeling like you want a little nourishment and you like feel a little bit like, oh my God, the 7 days are over, well, there'll be something there for you. So I want to open up the line. Ammali, you're welcome to share, but I thought, does anybody want to share some insight from the self-inquiry that we did today? Anybody want to share something? Yeah, George. Jacob's got a big smile on his face too. It's nice to see you. I've been looking at your smile. So yeah. George, you have to unmute though. Let's see. I need to invite you to do that.
Yes.
Okay,
Are we good?
we're good.
Okay, there's two little pieces to this. One is what occurred in the moment, and the other one was it reminded me of a story that I wrote that really relates to this. And so, in answer to one of the questions, it was to fine tune my moment to moment awareness of my intent to choose love and remain alert to all opportunities. And the story that that reminded me of was called The Gift of Choice. It was just one of those days when you wake up on the wrong side of the razor's edge and find yourself channeling a badass Buddha attitude into this world of form, with divine assistance from a snickering throng of delinquent devas, not to mention losing 3 straight wrestling matches with those naughty little thought angels. And you say to yourself, surely it couldn't get much worse. When someone, anyone says just the right thing to inspire your tantrum yoga practice to spread its wings and ascend to a new all-time high, unable to believe what you've just said or done in the heat of Kundalini's cleansing fires, you do the human thing and escalate in righteous indignation, while your life is spiraling every which way but up. Essential Self takes one look and decides to go on permanent vacation, while your flow goes mofo. Right at this moment, it is a little challenging to stop. But like everything else in life, yours is the gift of choice. Oneness is both the sunshine and the light, the shadows and the strife. When it's all said and done, who's to say what's wrong or right? The paintbrush is your gift of choice, and the canvas is your life.
Love that, George. You guys really got to get to know George. I've known him for a long time. He is really a fun and fascinating guy. And besides being a wonderful poet, George is a marathon runner. And I think you're going for your 100th run. George, you sent a message to me, right?
No, that was my 100-miler
100
in
miler.
February,
Yeah.
at which time I'll be 77.
Yeah. You got to get to know George. He's definitely a cool, cool guy. All right. Paul, how about you?
In looking at what stops me, the question of what stops me, and what I realized was that it's my angry inner child that resonates with my angry outer brother. And so then the inquiry is, how do I bring love to that? How do I still open my mouth and try to be helpful in the face of that fear that I'll open my mouth and get angry? So it was a really good piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, we're all going to help each other with our siblings that are like maybe struggling a little bit behind us in the thing. And how do we show up with our siblings in a way that begins to change the field around us? I know that's really where my inquiry is. And I know I had a similar one around when did I not choose it? And you guys know it was when I was cooking with my brother on New Year's Day. And I couldn't radiate love out, but what I did do is I chose to go in and be quiet inside myself. And so I had to give love to myself because I was too tired to extend my choice outward, right? So my thing of like, what am I going to make sure that I do this month? And I'm going to make sure that I'm fueling myself first, because I realize that the times that I can't choose love is when I'm tired, when I'm overextended. So that's what I had for mine. Yeah. Jacob, I saw, oops, go ahead. Who is that?
I would
Ammali?
just in responding to that, it's like oftentimes I notice that, yeah, my inquiries are also connected to intentions. And then that's a beautiful thing to also be tracking, like in what moments was I able to actually live up to these intentions throughout the cycle. So that's really beautiful. And I also just wanted to say in response to, I think it was Paul, yeah, Paul, just how like, oh, I feel how much in my process with this, I am on the altar of these questions. This is not a conceptual exercise. It's the dying and the rising from the ashes of so much actual transformation of what I need to feel and do and touch and grow in. So just really honoring the journey and just I'm here with you in it so deeply.
Yeah.
And Gabriella.
Yeah. How about we go Jacob first and then we'll go to Gabriella. Okay. Oops. Asked to unmute Jacob. I think you were mute. You were unmuted and then it got muted again. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the beautiful sharings. And my reflection on the choosing love is, yeah, when I can stay rooted in unity consciousness, it's so much easier to just trust that, of course, my experience is something I need to experience and open my heart to and choose love to. So, yeah, thank you for the work you're doing and beautiful community. And it's
Thanks for joining us today, Jacob. I'm glad you're there. Yeah. All right. Gabriella, nice to see you. What a beautiful background. Oops, you're muted, my dear. You just need to unmute. There you go.
Yes. Well, thank you. I am in Costa Rica, eternal summertime. Well, what I want to share is that I really when I have found that the best thing to do whatever you do is to stick with love, whatever it comes through. And I've noticed through the moon, really, that sometimes I am more susceptible to keep in touch with my this essential love uh, when you are challenged when things that hurts. Um, and the things that most hurts to me that that is part of my journey, my learning, is that sometimes in order to be in touch with the love, I must refuse to see or get in touch with the loved ones. Is something that really hurts me, but finally I found out that it is part of keeping myself in touch with the love. Sometimes the loved ones doesn't understand that, and you must understand them with love, but retract yourself from being nearby. Today's session is beautiful. Music is wonderful, and all the things that you're sharing with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriella. Beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else want to share something? I love sometimes we get into a field and we open up for people to share, and sometimes it gets into a lot of stories. I have not experienced that once in the 7 days that we've been here. I really want to acknowledge this community. I felt like when somebody shared something, they went right to the point and they shared something of value and they placed something in the field. That's rare. That says a lot about the maturity of this group and being present and not being somewhere other than right here. So I really want to acknowledge that. That's a powerful thing. Yeah. Anybody else want to share today before I show my screen again and give you a few little insights? Yes, Carol, please, you go ahead and unmute your line.
Privilege of taking a course, Loving Journey with Grace, for 12 weeks. And I found that really opened up my heart and cracked it wide open even more than it's been. And I read her book, The Personal Heart Power, and I recommend that to everybody if you have a chance to read that. It was lots of inquiry in it, but it was all based on, finding love in every part of you. So that's what Yay, Grace.
Yay, yay, Grace. And Grace left, but she left a little note in the chat that they're now up to, like, they were just under 400. Now it's like 416 or something people who have become a love beacon. Let's see, 416. I'm going to repost her thing. And today we were just talking about that we're going to get the list from her of all the people that have said they're going to be a love beacon, and we're going to get a little badge so that in the connection field, you can see who else is a love beacon and maybe connect with those people. So there's really fun ways. I'm going to share my screen for a minute and take you into the connection field one more time, because I think it's helping us to just kind of get settled a little bit in here and some of the things that are happening. So again, you can see the replays are all there, and they're available. And now you're going to start to see once a week, we're going to invite you to set an intention for the week. Gosh, small wins create big waves. Maybe you take the intention from our session today or from the other day with acceptance, and maybe you put that in the field. And it's okay for us to set small intentions that we can then focus on so that we can be successful and we can start to feel those small wins, and they really do begin to create some big waves. So you'll just see that that's happening in there. I also want to say, like, here's Ammali's profile. Like, you could go today afterwards and you could chat with her and you could tell her how much you appreciated what she's doing, or you could learn a little bit more about her, or the same with Theo. Or you can start to notice that there's different people that you've seen on the call every day for the last 6 days that you really appreciate what they're posting or they're sharing. Take a minute to say hello to each other. That's how we start to build this connection that we're feeling in the virtual field, like this coming together we feel in our hearts, and we can start to like create some relating. The other thing I'm going to say, if you put your picture in and you've put some information about yourself and you start to like follow different people, or you start to have activity in the field, the AI component of Mighty Networks is going to start noticing what you're doing, and it's going to start making suggestions to you of people that you might want to connect with. So the more that you put a little bit of energy into presencing yourself in the field, the more that you're going to start to see other people that you might want to connect with. And as I said, part of this is about building community of practice and to find partners and teammates. And we can do that by just interacting a little bit. And the last thing that I'll just say is, because we're going to be having that celebration of the Imaginal Souls, you might want to go and check out this Imaginal Souls chrysalis and learn a little bit more about what's being offered there. If you're somebody that feels like, I want to do the practices, I want to really deepen because I'm ready for that. So have some fun in the connection field and go and play around a little bit and follow people that you're inspired by, and begin to connect. Come and follow me, say hi to me. I'm saying hi to you all the time, right? Let's start to build this sense that we're here as friends and colleagues and teammates and collaborators, and we're here to provide a field of love that could strengthen us, especially when it's hard. And let's also be okay that it's hard. It's hard. It's okay. It's okay that we are not like living examples of choosing love today. But let's imagine at the end of this year, if we really focus and we stay in this process, that our life is going to be radically different at the end of the year than it is now. That magic is going to happen in this year because we showed up and we paid attention, and we put our attention in the places that were inspiring us. So I'm going to give Ammali a chance to just say any last words, and maybe Theo would just send us off with a song, just because I love his music so much. I want more. So Amma, do you want to share some last words for us?
Just simply thank you. Thank you for being on the journey. and engaging in the richness that it is to be alive. It's not automatically easy, like Teresa was saying. Like, to be alive right now, to be withstanding the level of pressure and transformation that we're going through, it's just, may it give birth to so much beauty and newness, and may we be fed by the nourishment of our experience. And yeah, just honor each of you and look forward to connecting in the connection field.
Nice. I love it. I'm super excited about self-inquiry systems coming in. I think everybody's excited about having these places. The replays are there, so if you missed something, you definitely, can get that. And Theo, how about taking us out with a song for today? Yeah. Another one, because we just can't get enough of you, and then we'll be done.
Well, I feel lucky, and I hope you feel lucky too, because I'm going to share another new song. It's like a work in progress. Okay. I heard this concept of, me and Amma are studying this DeMartini method. I think he talks about it. But it's this negotiation, this constant negotiation between safety and aliveness. So we're always like, we can play it safe, and then life gets boring and we need to stir it up and cause some trouble and get into some, funky business and make life interesting. But then it gets really scary and we're, going back to safety. So I wanted to kind of write a song that's kind of my contemplative method, and how, because really we want it all, right? We want it both. We want safety and aliveness. So this is my contemplation / affirmation of that. It's brand new, so I'm trying to work it out still. In love with the fantasy, born from a memory. Who am I to dream of walking upon the sea, loving like we always knew we couldn't stargaze? Take me to the place where I am safe, and I feel alive. I am safe, and I feel alive. I'm finding my power in my presence. Reminds me I can dream and dive into the sea, becoming who we always knew we could be today. Take me to the place where I am safe, and I feel alive. I am safe, and I feel alive. May you feel safe and alive.
Open up everybody's line so we can hear you and say goodbye. Thank you for being with us today, and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's celebration, day 7, Heart Math Institute. Gary Malcolm is our musician for tomorrow. Claire, look forward to seeing you. Blessings, everybody.
Yay! Blessings,
Namaste.
Theo. That song was
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
That was beautiful, everyone. Love you.
So much love.
Namaste.
Yay. Oh my gosh, Theo, how are you doing
How are you
that?
doing that one?
Thank
Oh, you
you.
gotta do your reaction.
Wait, you
he's
gotta,
got his,
why isn't
yeah.
it? What? How are you doing a fireworks?
It's his apple. It's his apple.
Oh my God.
Let's do weird movements. See if that.
All right, everybody, have a fun day.
Love you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Love you all.